for the last question, no one knows what the last question is going to be, but I've decided the last question is going to be about God. And does God still have a place in modern society? We're becoming a lot more of a scientific race, do you know what I mean? We're becoming a lot more clued up to the universe and how everything works. So does God still fit into our system as a whole? And who wants to start?
What God are we speaking
of?
Whoever your God is.
That's the question. That's the thing. Yeah. For me, it all.
You just said that and just let it out.
But that is the question. That is the question. Who is God to you? I mean, we have there's so many varying views on that, and that to me that is the crux of the matter. Who or what is God to you? There are people who, you have different faiths. You have Buddhists, you have Christians, you have Muslims or whatever. You have like these New Age Scientologist people.
Yeah, but whoever your God is, like
I think it's
in
important.
General,
personally,
does it have place in a modern society?
Yeah,
I think
no, it has a place in your home. It doesn't have a place in the modern society. I don't think.
That's why you have that separation of church and
Yeah,
state.
you separate it because I don't necessarily need to hear about. To me, a religious person out on the street talking about their religion is like someone exposing themselves. I don't want to see it because you don't have. It's like for me, you don't have a right to tell me because whatever person believes, I believe in aliens. I'm not going to tell you you need to believe in it though. But religious people feel the need to tell you that you have to believe in this, and if you don't, then there's X, Y, and Z for you. And it's just like, well, listen, you don't. First of all, you don't know me. Second of all, it's a belief system which you're entitled to. You just can't do it here. Like, why? I think I was having this conversation earlier on. Religious people think that it's actually okay to go out and tell someone X, Y, and Z. They actually think it's okay because their book sanctions that kind of behaviour. And I just don't think. I think like Serena said, what God are we talking about? Because some people's God is private. A lot of people's God is private to people, and it should be personal. And I'm all for the personal God. I'm not for the whole universal. One God fits all kind of mode. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I agree with that totally because for instance, like I'm Christian and I don't have a problem sharing my beliefs with people, but I have to know you on that level that we can talk, we can discuss. I know you're comfortable talk, but I'm not going to come and force anything down your throat or you have to believe this. It's my personal belief system. Like the same way, like for instance, that is not an appeal to everybody. Like we know doctors make a lot of money, but not everybody has the aptitude to be a doctor. That's not an appeal to everybody. So I can't tell you, you want to make a lot of money, you have to be a doctor. That's not, if you don't have the aptitude for sciences, you can't stand blood. That is not an appeal. That does nothing for you. So my thing is, yes, my belief is yes, there is a God, but the way that I approach my belief system is not the way that you're going to approach your belief system.
What are you saying over there? Like you're being quiet.
When it comes to the whole does it have a place, I think this is why I said earlier, I was like, don't discuss politics with your friends or religion. If you want to stay friends, that is. Because the thing is, I don't know, I come at this controversial things, I'm just going to go out and say it. The thing is, like, I personally, I'm not going to say God is not important. It's obviously important for a lot of people, but what I'm going to say, what is important is your relationship with people. So, because I see a lot of people like say they are so fanatical that they put God before anything. I'm not even gonna say
but that's
anything,
what
and that's when it becomes dangerous.
Is it because because then you no fighting when people say you have to believe what I believe, and if you don't, I'm going to kill you.
That's ego. I feel like that's
because there is. I think it should be a thing where it unites people and you have respect for other people's belief, which is the way that I go about mine. But when you're going the same thinking,
that goes
you
against
have
religion.
No, it goes against how people are taught.
No, it goes against the book. The book doesn't say that. The book will say you can only get to heaven but through the Father or the Son. Yes. That is a divide right there.
Right, but it doesn't. My book doesn't say that I have to kill you if you don't believe that.
It doesn't matter. What you do when you say that if it's like politicians, if politicians say, listen, the only way you can get free healthcare is if you vote Labour, right?
Yeah.
That was it.
Okay.
You don't have to say, oh, kill the Conservatives. What that does, that gives people who are Labour a sense of superiority over the Conservatives, because they're like, well, listen, we're the ones that are getting the free healthcare, and we're the ones that are better than you. It gives them that superiority. So it may not say, oh, go and kill the Conservatives, but what happens is it breeds that kind of mentality within people. For me, what is interesting to me about religious people is that it is not a prerequisite to study your religion before you say. If you say you're a lawyer, you have to study law. Mm-hmm. If you say you're a doctor, you have to study how to be a doctor. There's no prerequisite for saying, oh, people call themselves Christian. But have you studied it? Have you studied the book? You haven't studied it. And it just annoys me that they just because they've got the book, they haven't studied anything but me. They have the book, or they're Muslim and they say, yeah, this is me. And then they go around doing whatever. It just,
I think it's with that. But people, some people will do like some things that aren't Christian, that aren't Muslim, and call themselves Christian. And I'm like, well, are you Christian? But then they say yes because, and the thing is, it's like they've got this personal relationship with their God where they can do these things that aren't in their books. Because they, I don't know, or they can just like, oh yeah, I'll do this today and I'll go and like repent tomorrow or something like that.
Or they'll live by one. They won't do one sin, but they'll live doing another sin every single day
and judge
other people for doing that
sin.
sin. Where it's like, do you know what I mean? The things like that annoy me. I think in regards to the question, like, is there still room for God? I think that as society becomes more aware of our surroundings, the stereotypical like idea of God as like a being out there who judges and does this and that is diminishing, is going to diminish because if you was to go like a couple 100 years ago, there would be like, if the sun rises, it's God. If you go to the edge of the sea and fall off, it's God. Do you know what I mean? God was for everything that we didn't understand. But now we're understanding more and more and more. So things that we used to attribute to God, we now know it's because of these certain factors which we can now manipulate. So I think that the God that we kind of have always known is diminishing, and we're gonna find less and less need for that kind of God. And what we are gonna call, what we are going to start calling God is going to be something different. Because we're going to understand so much
nature
that we're going to be like, well, that we understand that. Let's say, for example, the Bible might say the world was made in 6 days, and we've only been on the planet for 6,000 years. The more that we understand the universe, and like we dig up fossils that are like 2 million years old, and the sun is 6 billion years old, and the earth is, do you know what I mean? We start to realize all this stuff. It's like, okay, well, that doesn't make sense anymore. So the ideas that we had of God before are going to change, and then we're now going to just understand that God is probably just a universal force, that until we discover what the universe is. Do you know what I mean? And then, so I think that what we call God is gonna change, and what we currently call it is gonna get smaller and smaller, and eventually disappear.
I mean, I think when it comes to God, I think we'll just never know. Like, I think people always have their beliefs, but we will just actually never know. But what is interesting is that you say Matthew was saying he's into the science kind of stuff, and I'm saying I'm into the I don't know, more so what you can prove. But people who actually have God don't need that, and they say we have faith. And so what I think is, when you say is it needed in modern society, what I think is very scary about faith is that what happens is you have people at home, even though it is personal, you have people at home teaching their children this faith, and then these children have to go out into this scientific society. Now they have to now interact with people that are saying, what? What do you mean? And they, because even though it is personal, we're in a society that is interpersonal. Do you know what I mean? And so they start saying, no, well, God did this, and they go to a science lesson, and the science is, the teacher will say, and they were like, no, it was God that did it.
Yeah.
And if they actually believe that, then they'll fail the.
Do they still teach creationism in school, or have they shut that out?
I think I saw an article that said-
or they
try
tried.
They not in America.
They tried. It's like they was advocating for it, wasn't it?
I think it's only a matter of time before they chuck it out altogether, if it hasn't been already.
I think things like that are really taught in religious studies, and again, that depends on where you go to school and what is taught there. And it's not really, it's taught as a religious subject, not as I would say a science or fact thing that this is all happening. But my thing is, it is a way of thinking, and as we evolve as people, that way of thinking must change. I can appreciate what you're saying, being taught of faith and believing in that and not knowing where you believe in it, and not being taught as critical thinkers and trying to understand different faiths and how they can actually work together. So I think it is blind.
Do you know one thing that upsets me actually? Which it upsets me or annoys me, and that's when people say when people do make these prayers and they're like, "Oh, God's been really good to me," whatever. With God's help, I'm like made it out of hospital. I'm thinking, well, what about the surgeon that done all the work? Or the people that go, "Oh yeah, God's really good to me. He helped me with my mortgage and helped me get my nice car. My life's in a good state, thank you God." And I'm like, well, what about the people in third world countries that are like starving and so he's going to help you get your car and get you this and get your life order, and not going to help these people eat?
Yeah. Doesn't make
those, and it's like, it's like say like in the Facebook they say, "Oh, say amen if you agree to this." Some silly things like that. I'm like,
one question that I've got for you, Kevin, is that, like I was saying earlier, with the more that we discredit certain things that are written, the more we understand that this can't possibly be true. So, what point do you think, or would there ever be a point where you realise, like, if we discredit like literally everything scientifically in the Bible, would there ever be a point where you'd be like, okay, obviously this book is not making any sense?
For me personally, like, okay, even though there are things in the Bible, for instance, my personal relationship is that there are things that I read and take as face value. I say, like, for instance, it's like, don't kill, don't steal, those sort of things, love in areas. That is not subject to interpretation, it is what it is. And there are other things that I believe are not to be taken literally. There are parables in the Bible which are not their stories. You have to, what is taught as an earthly story but have the meaning, that's the meaning of a parable. And there's certain things that I do not take literally. Like, say, for instance, there are a lot of people say who trace back genealogy of the Bible to say about, you're going to be here for 6,000 years, blah 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 blah. Personally, I don't believe that. So that's a personal interpretation.
But the thing is the Bible fact or fiction? Because let's say if I'm studying,
it's a combination of things.
Because
if
I'm studying for
a reference is like a guideline. But personally, for me, it is not everything there is fact. It is a guideline for how you should think and how you should do certain things.
But the problem is that some people think it's fact.
It's fact. That's dangerous. But
then
it goes against it being the word of God.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Because if you look at it as guideline, not necessarily this is fact. For instance, like, personally for me, again, because my personal belief, God can do anything. If
what God?
That's my God.
Which God is your one?
It's my God. That's my personal God.
What's his name?
I don't have a name for him. His name is God.
But you use the Bible as a reference. But God in the Bible has a name.
Yeah, he has a name. But for me, that doesn't matter. Again, it's things like that people stick on. That personally, I believe are not that important.
No, but it is. A name is important. If I started calling you Malcolm, and that's not your name.
Again, the name depends on what reference you're looking at. For me, for some people, I am Kevin. For some people, I am Daddy. But I'm the same person.
Right.
What the important thing for me is the person, not what you call them.
Yeah, but your reference point is the Bible.
Right.
You said you're a Christian, so if that's your reference point, the reference point of the God in the Bible has a name.
Yeah.
So, but when you said my God.
Yeah, my God. That is him.
But it's not your God.
Is your God the same God of the Bible? Or
same God of the Bible, but for me personally is my God. That is me personally for it.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like, for instance,
Yahweh is your God.
Yeah, that is what some people refer to him as. Some people refer to him as Jehovah.
Yeah.
Okay, Jehovah.
Right. But my God is sufficient for me. That is what it is. But what I'm saying is like, okay, so people take certain things for a little fact. My God is omnipotent, and it doesn't matter. According to some people, interpret the Bible to say that the earth was created in 6 days. For an omnipotent God, if you want to do that, that's the earth. On another scale, it could be a teaching for us to understand that creation process takes sequences. So as opposed to literally thinking it for 6 days, this is what happened on 6 24-hour periods. It could be, this is what happened first, this is what happened next, this is what happened again. So it's a process, a creation process. So I think the danger is in looking at things like that and taking it literally as a 24-hour period. This is what happened over 24 hours, 24 hours.
That's what you get.
Have we run out of time?
Gonna, yeah. So that's why I agree with you. God is a personal thing for people, and that's why when I discuss anything like that, I have to know that we are on a level where we can discuss, agree to disagree, and exchange ideas.
But your Bible isn't personal. That's the thing. The Bible isn't personal.
For me, when you start interpreting it, because the thing is, I don't have your mind, so I can't interpret it how you interpret it. So when you start doing that, it does become personal. The book, the
actual personal.
The text isn't personal.
No, right.
How you interpret it is personal.
Right.
That's all you can do. So
he's not. But the thing is, he's actually not allowed for God to be personal. Do you understand that? But if you look at the text, I'm talking about. In my view, I can have my personal God. But if you look at the people that follow these books, this doesn't say you can have a personal. It's not personal to you. It is what it is. It's by the letter. It is what it is. It's not. I take it and I interpret it this way.
No, but
that's
okay,
not what it's like. For example, if God says in the Bible homosexuality is an abomination to God, that's the text. You're not. You can't then say, well, my personal interpretation.
No, but
I'm just
gonna
get head from a guy. You know what I mean? It's in the Bible. Like it says what it is.
But that's written. But for instance, like creation story again, where does it say that these days are consecutive?
That's fine. I mean, I don't have to. It may not say that.
It doesn't.
It may not say that. But I'm saying there are things. I'm saying when you say it's personal, and I agree that God should be personal to people. But what I'm saying is what you're doing is you're straddling the fence because the book that you take your God from, like you said, you established your God is from the Bible. The Bible is not a personal book. It is a book that is very by the letter as what should be done, what shouldn't be done, what happened, what should happen.
I agree with that.
So it's not a personal thing. It's a very public thing. It's like the Bible's for you. Whatever the God says in the Bible, that's what it is. That's not personal. That's uniform. That's like university textbooks. You can't interpret the book the way you want to interpret it. It's in the textbook. That's what you do in the textbook, and that's what's going on. But when you start saying, exactly, and if you start saying, I thought it was this way, the teacher's going to be like, no, that's not what's in the text.
Yeah. So when you get a big fat F,
so you get like constants, like the speed of light, you can't interpret it. The speed of light is the speed of light, and science is science.
So then, when I understand Kevin wants to have a personal relationship, which is absolutely fine, but what I'm saying is you're choosing to have a personal relationship with a text that doesn't allow you to. So obviously there's a conflict.
Isn't it? My relationship is not with the text. My relationship is with God.
No, but you get the God from the text.
But isn't that
if I took the text away from you, if I took that text away from you, you wouldn't know who Yahweh is, who Jesus was. You wouldn't know who Abraham was.
One thing on
Moses
that
was.
Quickly is when you start taking it like and not personalizing it, you can go into like the dangerous territory, like with the whole. Fundamentalist Muslims, not Muslims, but fundamentalist Muslims that will behead you if you don't follow that book, and that's when it gets dangerous because they interpret it. Their interpretation is literally uniform, and if you don't put that uniform on, you're going to be beheaded, and that goes into like you can see the situation in the Middle East.
But if you think about it, like.
we as human beings, our imagination is quite limitless, and there's not much we can't do. And like, if you want to read the book and interpret it in your own way, there is no one on the planet that can stop you. So, like, you can read the book and follow it to as much as you want. I mean, you can get two Christian, like, deeply committed Christian guys, and like, they will like they'll take a bullet for the book if they're going to get shot, but they're gay. And then there's something in that book that just condemns them. But then that's not fair.
All that just makes no sense to me.
It makes no sense. But you know what? I'm not going to doubt their faith in. I mean,
I wouldn't doubt their faith, but I just think logically, the book that you're following condemns you. And I'm not saying that to be mean or anything like that, but it is what it is. Like, it's written there in black and white. So the book condemns you. So the way I see it is, no matter how hard you try, you cannot call yourself a Christian because the book condemns you. It's like, if I wanted to join the Ku Klux Klan, no matter how much I try, they condemn me. They're never gonna like me. Do you know what I mean? Like,
unless your name is Dave Chappelle and you're blind.
Unless I don't know, like I get rid of all of my black features and do you know what I mean? So certain things, it just confuses me. It just makes no sense to me. So I'm one of those people. Things need to make sense. Like, if it doesn't make sense, then I can't like buy into it, kind of thing. So yeah, that was my point. Like, I won't even waffle, but it just doesn't make sense. Like, I don't get it. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I was gonna say. So in regards to the book, if I find that I'm reading a book, let's say I'm studying for an exam, I'm studying for a maths exam, and I'm reading a book, and then there's a chapter on Shakespeare, and I'm like, okay, that makes no sense. I take that out, and then I'm reading, and then there's a chapter on fine art, and I'm like, okay, that makes no sense. I take that out. I'm eventually going to get to the point where I'm like, there's only one chapter in this book that makes any sense. Like, I might as well dash this whole book and get a maths book. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's just how I think. So if something doesn't make sense, why am I going to buy into it and dedicate my life to it if I only really can make sense of one chapter? The Barbershop Banter Show is brought to you by Shear and Shine, professional barbering, men's skincare and professional massage. Make sure that you follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and leave your comments, share the video, do everything that you need to do.